All right, guys. So listen, today the focus is going to be like this is like the initial round of talking through like a client appointment. Okay. So I'll talk through some of the setup a little bit, and then we'll go through the actual like demonstration. My goal for this is when I'm done to go back through like the AI generated notes and transcript and then uh turn that into a version of a KT script, just like Andy has for the recruiting script. That way we can sort of follow that. It should be relatively close, right? It should be relatively similar. Should be, right? But like one of my old first sergeants used to say, sir, should bees don't make honey, right? So just like take that for what it's worth. But that's the goal for today. All right. And so the presentation packet that I built and sent out to everybody, remember that is sort of like a beta document. All right. It's not an official Primerica document, but it does kind of put things into one place so you don't have to be jumping between, multiple PDFs and that sort of thing. So we'll talk about setup a little bit and then we'll kind of get into it, right? So going into a client appointment, generally, you're going to be there, obviously you, the the prospective client, and then whoever you're training, generally, right? Because that person that you're training is generally the one that set the appointment for that person. And so the normal sort of flow is like an introduction, have the recruit introduce you to that prospective client, establish some credibility, right? Like, hey, Michelle, so glad we were able to kind of, sit down. Thank you so much for helping me today. This is Matt. Matt is actually my regional vice president. He's going to do most of the talking today because I'm just getting started and I'm just in training, right? So Matt, it's all yours, man. I'm just gonna, smile and nod and take notes. Make a joke, right? Have that person make a joke, but that requires some coaching, right? They have to know sort of like what to say, how to introduce you, what you want them to say, right? And so obviously, if it's just you and a client, you probably know that person and you can, a little bit of small talk, a little bit of form. So form still matters, right? Because you want to establish some credibility with that person. You want to have a little bit of a conversation. Ideally, the person that set the appointment, right? The recruit and the prospective client, they've already started talking a little bit, right? Just some basic info sort of thing. Like the call I did yesterday for Serena for her chiropractor. She had already told him that I was a veteran and a pilot. Ironically, his son is in the Army in the 101st and is a Black Hawk crew chief, right? So like a natural connection just starts to happen. Just like Andy was saying, this is a relationship business, right? And so the sooner you can establish some sort of connective tissue with that person, the higher the odds become of establishing trust and then being able to move forward, right? So the form in this situation isn't as like it's I guess it's not like as targeted in terms of like information gathering. It's going to come through more naturally just sort of with the conversation, right? And so if you have the calendar ahead of time and it's got the macho criteria on it, I always try to go in and pre-build the client. That way I've got like a shell already sort of set up. And so let me do this real quick and just kind of show you what I'm talking about. That way it's you can just kind of get ahead of the game a little, right? And even if all you have is like their name and like the calendar gave you an age, so you can sort of like fake a birthday, right? Well, that's really all you need, right? And so um, the app is one way to do it. Turbo apps is the other way to do it in terms of like building the client. Let me just show you this way, assuming it loads, because it's been kind of silly this morning. Okay, there we go. All right. And so let's just say I'm going to sit down with, Walt Disney, and I don't have Walt Disney as a client yet, so I need to add him. Okay. And then that's all I need technically to add Walt Disney as a client. Now, if I've got the calendar, I generally have Walt's phone and email, right? So I would just put those things in. That way it's sort of pre-canned. And then if there's a Mrs. Disney, right? Add them as well. Because now that I've got them there, right? If I had put those phone numbers and emails in there, it's gonna pop up when I go to quote, let it load, quote for contact, right? They won't be there yet. If I hit new quote though, it'll be the most recent person that I just added, right? And so same sort of thing, right? Well, Walt's a man, Mrs. Disney is a woman, Walt, right? Let's just assume Walt is 50. Well, I don't know Walt's birthday, right? But if we assume that Walt was born, January 1st of 1976, right? He's 50. When we get into the point where we're actually doing the quotes, we'll fix it, right? And then, I usually just do the same thing for both spouses just to keep it the same because if you change birthdays, you're going to screw yourself up. So I always just sort of do that. That way I can go in because for me, I can go in and sort of can this in terms of having like an idea. Let's see, obviously Walt's here in Florida. Guys, prices don't change on policies based on the state. The just agent wise, right? The front end from the data input on the quick quote is the exact same for us, regardless of the state that we're working in. What happens though in the background is there are state-specific documents that the data will get input into. And so, one, you have to be licensed and appointed in the state that you're writing for in order to be compliant. Two, it's because it also puts it onto a specific state document in the background. Okay. So put in the Zoom chat or go ahead and unmute yourself, right? If Walt is 50, what is the most appropriate term length for a policy?
25?
15 years.
Close. We're bracketing, right? Personally, I like 20 in this case because it gets him to 70. I'm usually trying to get someone to 70. And I know Andy says 65. I like getting someone ideally past retirement because most people plan to retire at 65, they go to 67, 68 generally, right? And so in this situation, just so you can kind of get an idea, right? Precision. There we go. Right? So Mrs. Disney, 500,000 for 30 years, right? Is 254, just so you can kind of see the difference really quick. Same age, same policy. The only difference between them is man or woman, right? So Mr. Disney's a little older, so well, excuse me, is a male. But everything else is the same, so it's a little more expensive. So 270 versus 250. On average, guys, like with men and women, if they're the same age, same coverage, the price difference is going to be about 20 bucks, give or take. Okay. Now, getting them to retirement age, I just cut the price in half. That extra 10 years is substantially more expensive because the odds of the client dying in that last 10-year period are much higher. So they pay for the risk. Does that make sense? So, right? So Mr. Disney, same thing here, right? Like a 20-year term, not quite half price, but almost. So just so you can see this, right? And then this is you don't do this on every single client, but if you have an older client, right? Let's say Walt does want a 30-year term of some sort, right? He wants the longest level term possible. Hey, Walt, that's great, right? Let me show you something kind of custom. It's probably something you may or may not have ever seen before, right? Well, if I was able to build you something that sort of followed that decreasing, responsibility rule that we talked about, well, I can give you the level term coverage, right? And you've still got a 500,000 for the next 20 years. And in 20 years, 350 will fall off, and then you've still got 150,000 for the next 10, and the price never changes, and you don't have to worry about it. Is that something that makes sense to you? Oh, by the way, I can save you $80 a month. Is that okay? Right. Now, again, with somebody who's like a normal eight, like mid 30s, early 40s, don't even go there because you're just going to overcomplicate it, right? Just leave it be. But if somebody's older and they want something that's going to be as long as possible, or you're trying to fight like like agent competition against a whole life policy because they want it for a long time, blah, 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 right? This is how you can do it because you can give them still level coverage for as long as possible, and you don't have to worry about the cost being as drastically high. Okay. So this is just something, this gives me an idea kind of coming in ahead of time, even just like a little bit and playing with it, because then I can, in my mind, I have an idea ahead of time going in terms of what it would look like from a like a shoebox scenario, right? Because like right now, I know that if I wanted to get them this, I need their shoebox number to be above 400. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. So I just go in and I kind of pre-build this. That way it's there, it's done. I get a little bit of an idea ahead of time. And now listen, if you don't have time because you're as busy as you should be and you're on back-to-backs and that sort of thing, don't stress. Okay. So do you see how the transitions are seamless as I'm switching between things? It's because I'm sharing just my whole desktop, right? Sharing the whole screen. I'm not just sharing a PDF and I'm not just sharing because guilty, right? I've been sharing a PDF before and I switched to a, you know, um, POL or whatever, and I'm talking like they can see it and they're still just looking at like the blue page. Guilty. So ideally don't do that. It's just share the whole screen, but it requires you to make sure you've got like some sanitization going in, right? Ideally, set your do not disturb on. That way you're not getting like weird pop-ups during that time. But that's the way I do it. Because then it's seamless, right? Now I can just come down here and click. Oh, I was in Safari, right? And now it's just boom, boom, boom. It's not like this weird, oh, hang on, let me transition. Oh, let me do this. Let me do. No, just seamless, seamless. Okay. And so back here really quick, who wants to be my guinea pig? Who wants to be the client? Michelle, you got your camera on. Let's do this. All right. So Michelle's Michelle's the client, right? So she's here. She just showed up. Jen is the agent in training. Jen recruited her. So Jen, you did your introduction. It was great. It was amazing. Fantastic. Great job. Right. And so, Michelle and I have already, talked a little bit. We've already got a little bit of, small talk going on. And then the sort of like the transition into the presentation, right? So, hey, Michelle, I mean, really appreciate you taking time out to help Jen get some training today. I'm going to walk through the like sort of like just the presentation about the company for probably about 10, 15 minutes maybe. And then I want to walk you through what it looks like at like a normal client appointment. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, if we can help you with anything today, great. If we can't, great, because you'll still know more about what Jen's doing, and then you'd be totally comfortable with sending her some referrals in the future. Am I right? Plant the seed. Plant the seed, and then also now I know, right, that she's open to it. We're just walking through it. It feels non-committal. I'm just showing her what we're doing. Makes sense, right? So it brings walls down, guys. You're just having a conversation. So, Michelle, I'm going to share my screen here in a second. You'll see a blue page. If you're on your phone, it might make sense to turn your phone sideways, landscape. It might just fill your phone up screen a little better. So let me know when you can see that, okay?
I can see it. Thank you.
Oh, perfect, perfect. So let me zoom in just a little bit more for you, just because I know you are on your phone. But Michelle, I own the brokerage, right? And Jen's working with us through a company called Primerica. Have you ever heard of Primerica before?
No, I haven't.
No, that's okay. I mean, most people say that, but Michelle, if I said like a good neighbor, you'd say what?
State Farm is there.
Yeah, everybody gets that one right, right? Well, those guys, Michelle, they spend about 1 billion a year on ads. It's probably why you know that, right? You've never heard of Primerica before, but we're literally the largest independent financial services marketing firm on the continent. We're up in Canada, we're in every state in the country, all the US territories. We're huge. Right? We're actually publicly traded. Like you could go buy shares of Primerica stock right now. PRI is the stock symbol, the ticker. The company's worth about $8.5 billion. Crazy, right? Yeah. So before we went public, right? We've been around almost 50 years now, but before we went public in 2010, we were owned by a company called Citibank. Have you heard of Citi before? CITI?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So Citi owned us. They actually bought us in 1990. We were with them for 20 years. 2010 is when we went public. And the reason we went public in 2010 was, following the housing market crash. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah, everybody does. Well, most people our age do, right? Well, when the market crashed back then, it was, you know, housing market, a lot of companies were too big to fail. Do you remember hearing that term?
I did.
Yeah, so Citi was one of those companies that was too big to fail, and so the government swooped in and gave them billions in a bailout money. They actually took almost $500 billion to avoid bankruptcy. That's crazy. And I mean, down here you can see it. We'll get to this, but right, part of our mission, Michelle, is teaching families how to be debt free. And so when our parent company at the time took on quite literally about a $500 billion in debt to stay out of bankruptcy, our CEO said, "No way, it's not a good look." And that's when we went public. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Yeah. But ever since then, right? And so what are we? We're just a massive brokerage. We kind of do a little bit of everything that a client's money could touch. And it's just been a huge growth story ever since we went public back then at like $10 a share. Today, a company trades around 260, right? Plus or minus. But yeah, we're worth about 9 billion. And I mean, just look at the size of the company. We have close to 3 million investment clients at this point. Almost 6 million people have their life insurance with us. Every year, Michelle, we're in the top like one or two producers of term life insurance in the country. You just never heard of us, right?
Right?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm just going to scroll down here really quick, but like look at all the things that we do, right? These are all the different companies that we work with. And I know it says Primerica in the middle, but what I want you to think of is like instead of thinking of Primerica in the middle, I want you to think about Jen, right? So Jen is really like your access to all of these different companies. Okay. If you need something, call Jen, right? Even if she's not licensed for it yet, we can get you in contact with somebody that is. But let's be honest, if you could work with Jen, regardless of the thing, you would still rather work with Jen. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, of course. So here's all the things that we do. Look, so life insurance, right? It's kind of a big one. It's the one thing with our name on it, but it's just one thing, right? So we do life insurance, we do mortgages. You've probably heard of Rocket Mortgage before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rocket does the majority of our residential stuff. Spring EQ does some wholesale lending for us, right? So we have a couple different ways to do that. But look at all of the investment companies that we work with, Michelle. I mean, you've probably heard of a lot of these too, right? Like Fidelity, Lincoln, Franklin Templeton, Bright House. You've
Yes.
probably had a retirement account once upon a time with one of the companies on here, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So the cool thing about that is we can work with any of those companies that makes sense for the client because we're a broker in that sense, right? We're not tied to any one of them. We have no like there's nothing that makes us go back to one of them versus a different one other than relationships and great products for clients. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. And so look, there's a bunch of other things we do too up here, right? So Answer Financial, Michelle, they do all of our home and auto insurance and renters insurance and small business insurance. You call one phone number and somebody can quote you in about 20 minutes to about 30 different companies, right? I mean, Michelle, think about it. When was the last time you actually quoted your home or auto insurance?
When I got my car and house,
Oh, wow. How long ago was that?
2020 and 2021.
Oh man, so it's been almost 5 and 6 years.
Yep.
Michelle, that's actually pretty common. Most people, right? They don't want to go through the hassle of calling a bunch of people and getting a bunch of quotes because then they get a bunch of spam in reverse. Am I right? Yeah,
It's
I mean
true.
that's totally normal. And so we like the switching cost is too high. And so like Michelle, but check this out. If you could call these guys, they would quote it in about 20 minutes to about 30 different companies. And if they can save you some money, they'll tell you and they'll never, you'll never get a bunch of spam calls in reverse. How's that?
Sounds good.
Sounds good, right? Because if we could save you money on something you're already spending money on, that would make a ton of sense, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, cool. We'll give you a number, right? You call and make sure you use Jen's discount code because then if you end up saving and switching, she gets paid and she gets credit for that. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Perfect, right? And so other things we do, right? So kind of like the legal aspects, so wills and powers of attorney, trusts, those sorts of things. We do all that with Legal Shield. And we also generally bundle that with an identity theft product because, I mean, how many people do you know right now that could like have been hacked or have had some sort of identity theft issue or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody needs it. Everybody needs it. And so like we kind of do everything. Right? And that's the cool thing. So I just wanted to show you a little bit more about like what we do while we're kind of talking about the company here. But here's just some more stuff about the company, Michelle, right? I mean, the company's won tons of awards, right? Like most trusted
No,
financial company, most
just a
most
code.
trusted life
I'm not.
insurance company. And I mean, those are from Investors Business back in 22. You've heard of Forbes magazine, I'm guessing?
I have.
Yeah, it's not on here, but Forbes actually has given us a ton of awards over the last few years, like, best in life insurance, best in mid-size employer, and best in the workforce for women, right? That last one we've probably gotten, I think, the last 6 years in a row. Yeah, so it's, and if you didn't know, right, Primerica is actually, over, I'd say at this point, about 60 to 65% female in the licensed sales force, right? So it's a very, very woman-led company, right? And it kind of makes sense when you think about the mission, because the mission, Michelle, is help families earn more income. And really anybody can get a license and do this, right? So what's crazy is, for most of our agents, Michelle, an extra 500 bucks a month is kind of like helping one, maybe, two clients a month. Not a lot, right? And an extra 500 bucks a month would have kept every family over the last, 4 to 5 years that went through a bankruptcy out. And so if somebody, is interested and they want to do this, we offer them, a way to get licensed and a way to make some extra money. It's like a sort of like a financial life raft. And so that's something we can talk about if that's something that you're interested in. But just so you know, anybody can do this, right? So proper protection is the next thing. And we always say, look, life insurance and insurances in general, it's not like a sexy topic, right? But it's necessary. And so it's just the right amount of life insurance for wherever you're at in your current stage of life. Debt free, that's a lot like a Dave Ramsey approach. Have you ever heard of Dave Ramsey before?
I have.
Yeah. So you've heard of like a debt snowball or a debt stack or something like that.
I even had his money app for a while.
Hey, there you go. So we teach the exact same things, right? And just so you can kind of see what that looks like, we'll just scroll down a little bit. Don't get dizzy. Right? So just like Dave's debt snowball, we just call it a debt stack. And so I mean, you know what this is. I won't beat a dead horse, but you can see how just by having a plan and paying your bills better and more effectively, someone gets out of debt faster. They've got an extra couple grand now to either invest or, do whatever they want to do. There's no extra money in the client's budget here. We just built them a plan to pay their bills more effectively. But check this out. With just a plan, Michelle, that client got out of debt almost 15 years sooner and saved over 112,000 in interest.
Yeah, that's great.
Just knowing how to pay your bills more effectively. How crazy
Yeah.
is that? Yeah. So that's sort of like what the debt side of things looks like. It's not any sort of like debt consolidation. We don't do anything like that, right?
Mm.
And then the last piece, Michelle, is financially independent because we want people to be financially independent. We don't want people to like think they're never going to retire, right? And financially independent is really just when you think you're going to retire, you have enough money to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like while I mean, kind of while we're on this, Michelle, like right now for like you and your spouse, like outside of yourselves, who's managing your money?
Nobody.
Just you guys, right?
Yes.
Hey, listen, that's pretty normal. Like, don't feel bad. That's pretty normal. And then it's kind of same sort of question, like outside of work, who's handling your guys' life insurance and retirement type stuff?
Nobody.
Nobody right now, but you at least have something through work.
Yes, we both have policies through work. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, I always tell clients, look, whatever you have at work is great, keep it. But can I ask you a question, Michelle?
Hmm.
Have you ever thought about leaving that job?
Yes.
Frequently, right? Most people do. Well, Michelle, when you leave that job, because you're going to eventually, am I right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. When you leave that job, what happens to your group life insurance and your group benefits and all that?
I don't have it anymore.
Absolutely, it's gone, right? Michelle, that's why we always advise clients that whatever you have at work while you're there, keep it, right? Because it's either free or it's so cheap, it might as well be. But you should also have something that's private that you own and control that you know, God forbid something happens, your family's going to be taken care of no matter what, right? So, well, yeah, we'll talk about that. I'll kind of walk you through. We have like a real quick application we can walk through in terms of like what it looks like in terms of when you're going to retire and how much life insurance you should have. Has anybody ever kind of shown you that before? Any ever walked you through like how much money you should have at, at retirement?
No.
So we'll do that today, and I can show you in about 5 minutes. And the system does all the work really for me. It's kind of cool, right? You don't even have to be good at math or anything. So, but we'll walk through that here in a few minutes. But here's really like how we do what we do, right? Michelle, so like you and your husband are kind of managing your finances. Do either of you guys have a like a formal background in personal finance or money or anything like that?
Technically.
Not technically. Yeah, I mean, and again, don't feel bad, right? Most people don't,
Yeah,
but
I
that's
mean, I
kind
went
of,
to college for accounting. I just never used it.
yeah, no, that's okay. I've actually met people that like majored in finance, right? But it was all business finance. None of it was
Yeah.
personal, right? And when I ask them and they think back to when they had like some sort of education, it was like high school when it comes to personal finance, right? So that's really what makes us different is we really just want to teach people how money works and kind of show them, get them back into the like the mindset of getting things on track and having a plan. Because you would agree that having a plan is better than not having a plan, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's cool because that's what this financial needs analysis really is that we do for clients. Michelle, it's sort of like a GPS or like a roadmap for your money, right? And so if you thought about like, I mean, you're up in Maryland and I'm down here in Florida. You have family down here, right?
I do. Mhm.
Yeah. So like if you were going to drive down to see the family down here, would you and your spouse just like hop in the car and just head south on 75 and hope you make it?
No.
No, right? I mean, you probably know where they live, but you would still put it in your phone for your GPS, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so like there you go. It's probably like a 2 maybe 3 day drive if you take a scenic route or something, but that's a plan. And we know people that want to like save money. They want to get out of debt sooner. They want to retire faster. They want to make sure their families are taken care of. But Michelle, like, do you think they have a plan to do that?
No.
Most people don't, right? And if you don't have a plan and you don't have a destination, can you ever get there?
Unlikely. I mean, you
Not really.
can, but
Yeah, but like the odds of you getting there are probably pretty low, right?
right.
Yeah. Well, that's where we come in, right? This financial needs analysis, Michelle, is kind of like that GPS or like a roadmap for your money. And the best part about it is that it's free. So far, it's a price no one's ever complained about, right? And it kind of covers a lot of things. And so we can look at one, right? Let's see if we can save you some money on something you're already spending money on. Whether that's your car insurance, home insurance, maybe it's your life insurance. I don't know. Maybe you're paying too much for your investments. I honestly don't know, but we'll look at that, right? Because if we can save you money and get you the same or better, you would agree it would probably make sense to switch.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And so, Michelle, look, so we'll go through this today. We'll do the really simple one, but like the full financial needs analysis takes a while, right? Because we talk about debt if you're dealing with that. We build a plan to get you out. We are going to talk about like old retirement accounts. Like, have you ever worked somewhere and had a 401k, but you didn't take it with you?
No, TSP, but not 401k.
Okay. So
Yeah.
TSP is nice, right? Because you kind of hold on to that. It kind of just
Yeah.
follows you from federal job to federal job.
Yeah.
But Michelle, you can imagine where people kind of worked in places and they had a 401k and they left and nobody told them to take it with them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money out there that's just like left behind. It's
I
kind of
think.
like orphans. Yeah. So we would say, look, let's go find those statements. Let's get you back in control of that money. Let's look at your life insurance and figure out what we've got going on there. And if it all makes sense, well, do it. Right. That's
Yeah.
that's the only catch, right? Because usually when I tell people it's free, Michelle, they say, well, kind of BS, man. What's the catch, right? Nothing's free. I say, no, really, it's free. And kind of the only catch is if it makes sense, well, you should probably do it, right? And the only thing I would ever ask from you on the backside of that is, well, if it made sense for you, right? Remember, we don't pay for advertising, we don't have commercials, we don't have a duck or a lizard or a jake or any of that. I would just ask if there's somebody that you know that could use this, would you send them a referral? Send me the referral, send Jen the referral. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, hey, what I want to do now really quick is I just want to switch over and show you what the financial needs analysis looks like, the really quick one,
Sure.
because the nice thing about this is it's going to tell us your financial independence number. Do you remember when you watched the financial house video when it talked about that?
Yes.
Yeah. And so you're Walt Disney today. So we're going to do this here really quick. And Michelle, this little cool graphic, right? This is what we call decreasing responsibility. So just a little bit more like in depth about kind of what we do real fast, right? So if you think about this as like age, right? Age on the x-axis down here is, 20 maybe to 80. So say 50 is in the middle. And so when you're younger and you have kids and you have a mortgage and you have to income to replace, we would say your need for insurance is relatively high, right? And Michelle, when you're younger and your need for insurance is high, this green line down here, this is your money. Because this is also generally when your money is relatively low, right? But over time, right, you've been investing, you've been saving, getting out of debt, your money is going to increase. And as your assets and your money is increasing, your liabilities are decreasing, right? Like over here, now you're in your 60s, your kids are grown, your house is paid off, you've retired maybe twice, who knows, right? And so with the focus over here is less on life insurance and making sure that you don't outlive your money. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah.
Cool. Well, let's do this really fast, right? I'm just gonna pop this in. Oh, nope, Walt Disney's in Florida. You know that. And so we've got Walt and Mrs. Disney. So Walt's 70, 50, and then we'll just got to come back in and fix Mrs. Disney's age here really quick. I want to show you guys one thing, right? So we'll make her 1 year younger. The older client is always the one that the time to retirement is based off of. Okay. So Walt's 50, 67, you can change this, right? But 17 years until retirement. So Michelle, when I ask most people when they're going to retire, they give me a number, right? So if I asked you, when do you think you're going to retire, what would you say?
Realistically, 60.
Okay. So I mean, 60 is a great number, but Michelle, what if I told you your number is actually probably closer to like three? Would that make
Okay.
sense? Would that make sense, or is that kind of confusing?
It's confusing.
It's a little confusing, right? Well, listen, I agree that your, retirement number is a number, but I don't think it's a number that's an age. I think it's a number with a dollar sign in front of it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Because if I gave, like, let's just say your number is 3 million, right? And I handed you 3 million today, would you go back to work?
No.
Most people wouldn't, right? And that's really the kind of the difference. And so that's why we call it a financial independence number, because once you hit that number, you don't have to go back to work. So Michelle, for you and your spouse, let's just say, right, Walt is going to make about 6,000 a month, right? And Mrs. Disney makes four, okay, because it makes the math easy. And so, guys, on average, right, most people when they retire are going to need somewhere around 80% of their income to retire and not change their lifestyle, right? Because I mean, Michelle, let's be honest, most people don't want to change their lifestyle, they just want to afford it. Am I right?
Right.
Yeah. So here's where we kind of have to plan forward though, because Michelle, you understand inflation.
I do.
Yeah, as time goes on, right, the purchasing power of your dollar goes down. So I'm gonna zoom in for you a little bit, right? So Michelle, today's 8,000 in the future, when you're going to retire in about 17 years, it's going to take about 13,000 and change to do the same as 8,000 today. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy, right? And so
Sad.
it is, no, I know, but listen, that's why we plan, because if we planned off of 8,000 a month and you needed 13, you're going to run out of money way too fast. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have to plan off the big number for clients. Okay. And so here's your number, Michelle, right? I said it was probably about three. That's pretty close, right? So somewhere, and it's not an exact science, but somewhere between 2 and 3 million is what you would need to stop working completely, right? And still be able to maintain your lifestyle. So that's what your financial independence number is. Okay. Now, most people see that number, Michelle, and they freak out, right? Because they're like, no way, I'm not even close. I'm never going to retire. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
But watch this, right? You guys have been working, you're in your 50s, you've probably got, somewhere around, quarter million or more in your retirement assets at this point. We'll just say, for round numbers, we'll say about 300,000. And if you're not going to stop working for another 17 years, you're still going to be contributing. You're over 50 now. You actually have, catch-up contributions. Did you know you could actually put in more right now than you could last year? because you're
I
just because you're 50?
yes, sorry.
No, it's
I
okay.
forgot I
Yeah.
was 50.
Yeah, it's okay. So pretty cool. And it also went up this year anyway, because last year it was about 7,000 a year into a Roth. Now it's 7,500, year 50, so it's actually 8,500. We call those catch-up contributions, right? And then Michelle, you and your spouse both have a TSP. Are you guys both contributing?
Yes,
And then are you guys getting a match from the company? Do
yes,
you know what that percentage is?
5.
Oh, sweet. So check this out. So your guys' gross income is about 10,000 and you're both putting in 5% a month. That's 500. But the cool thing is you're getting an extra 500 for free, right? So your 500 and the company's 500 is actually 1,000 a month. So with what you've got right now and just what you're doing, even I mean, you're going to get raises and that sort of thing in the future. I'm not worried, like just simple stuff, right? Michelle, you're actually really close. You're really close. Look, did you think you would only be like a couple 100,000 off of your financial independence number, or did you think you were going to be way farther?
Way further.
Way further. But I mean, in about 5 minutes, I showed you you're actually pretty close. Does that make you feel better?
It does.
Heck yeah, right? I mean, it provides some confidence. And so really like if you wanted to kind of close that gap a little more, it tells you right here, if we wanted to 100% stop at 67, well, we need to go from about 10% of your income to about 18, right? It's about 800 bucks a month difference, right? And Michelle, can you see how like if we got you out of maybe some debt sooner and we freed up some more of that money, how we can hit this number a lot easier?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is make some extra money, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're making an extra 800, it's a heck of a lot easier to add that right here and get there sooner. Am I right?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I mean, Michelle, for you, like an extra 800 a month as an agent would be helping probably two clients. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk
Good.
about life insurance really quick too. And Michelle, most people when they think about life insurance, they think about like, paying for a funeral. And that's important, right?
Yeah.
But I would argue the most important thing about life insurance, Michelle, is replacing an income. Because like right now, God forbid something happened to you or your spouse, what would your what would that life look like for that other person with half of the income?
Hard, especially since we homeschool.
It'd be super hard, right? So now, like, that's the most important thing we're looking at in terms of replacing income. And how old are the kids?
Oh, they range from 17 to 0.
17 to 0. Okay, wow. So we have a while that we need to be covering and replacing income and making sure that both of you guys are protected. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So on average, right? Like, so you're a Ramsey aficionado. You know that Dave says somewhere between, 8 and 12x your income is about where you should be. So well, we'll go with 10. So somewhere around 10x income is about where you should each be covered, right? So Walt needs about, 750,000, and we would say you should probably have about a 500,000. And that's to replace that income, especially while you've got young kids in the house. Does that make sense?
It does.
Awesome. So that's just kind of a basic snapshot. I wanted to show you some numbers really quick. Has anybody ever walked you through like the prices of life insurance and that sort of thing before?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to switch screens here really quick, but while I'm doing that, Michelle, like, I mean, I know we just kind of looked at it, but like if money was no object, right, and you didn't care what it cost, how much coverage do you think you would want to have on you and on Walt to make sure that you guys were taken care of no matter what? Like if money's no object.
Probably 1 million on Walt
Okay.
and about 500,000 on me.
Yeah, so pretty safe, right? Pretty close to what we had thought. But I mean, let's be honest, if you don't care what it costs, you want all of it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, right? I mean, we don't care what it costs, we want like billions.
It's true.
But we have to be realistic, and so we know money is an object. And so let me just stop this screen share really quick while we're chatting, right? But if we know money is an object, then it kind of makes sense in terms of like we have to pay attention. So when it comes to that, like we use a analogy called a shoebox, right? And it kind of like remember when you were a kid, you had like a piggy bank where you stash your extra money or something, right? So same kind of thing. And so where we would say, look, in the shoebox, we're going to put money to invest, save, life insurance, all the things. Right? And so, like for you guys right now, you guys are getting paid biweekly.
Yes.
Okay. So every 2 weeks, how much do you think you guys could take out of your paychecks if we were going to put it in that shoebox and take care of all of those things, right? And while you're kind of thinking about that, I mean, I have clients that are, 50 to 100 a check. I have some that are a few hundred a check. I have some that are thousands because it's a big range. We have lots of different clients. Thousands would probably be a little too much for you guys right now, but where do you think you guys would land? Like 100 a check, couple hundred?
Honestly, I was doing the math and I spent $255 on eating out last month. So
Oh,
at
wow.
least $255.
Okay, yeah. I mean, so let's be honest, as long as we could show you something that's kind of in that range of that shoebox money, is that something you'd be open to taking a look at today?
Yes.
Great. So let me pull this back up and we'll kind of talk some, we'll talk some numbers here really quick. And then boom, we're into the quote. Okay. And so I've only got about 15 minutes left because I have a 10 o'clock I have to get to, but that's the process. Okay. That's the process. Tomorrow, I can walk through like from that process through the A diagram through the close, right? Because that whole thing was the setup. Now, think about how many times I said Michelle's name. Maybe Jen was counting, I don't know. But we can go back and like check the tape, right? But it was a lot. Think about how many questions I asked Michelle along the way and how many times she told me yes. A lot, right? And that was, I think I started at like 9:16, 9:15. That was almost 28 minutes. That's about average, right? Because if you think about an hour KT, it should be about 30 minutes, 35 for discussion, setup, tie downs, a diagram, and then about 20 to do the applications, give or take, right? Now, in the beginning, it'll probably take you longer because you're not going to be as smooth and your button clicking, your buttonology is going to be a little slow. But on average, that's about how long it should take. Okay. And so before I kind of demo an A diagram really fast, questions. Anything you guys want to like rehash, go back over. Thank you, Michelle. You were a great sport. She gave me no objections. She was very kind. Right? Go ahead, Emily.
I got two questions. So one is like, and I had this question like from the very beginning, like, and I've heard Andy be like, absolutely not. Is like, the there has been talk about extending the retirement age. So I know you say to go ahead and take people through 70. In the event that that changes, like, I mean, do we just continue to stick with 70? Because I feel like with a lot of the administrative things that are changing, I mean, I don't know. I just was curious about your opinion on that.
I would base it purely on the individual, right? Like if you've got a client like our fake Walt Disney there that is 50 and you're sort of teeter-tottering between, a 30-year term or a 10-year term, right? It's all scenario driven. It all depends. Because if Walt's 50 and has no kids, it's very different than if Walt is 50 and just had a brand new newborn. Right. So it's all scenario driven. I would still try to get someone around to the age of where they told you they're planning to retire. Right. If somebody says, yeah, I'm going to retire at 55, you're like, wow, that's amazing. You must be doing something right. Right. Compliment them. Somebody says, hey, I'm probably going to work till I die. Okay, well, we should probably give you the longest level term possible and find a way to keep you covered for as long as possible while we need to replace that income. Right. Those are the things that should be going through your mind. And so, you know, Michelle, Mrs. Disney, right? She told me they're going to retire 65-ish, 60 even. And so if she's 50 and she wants to retire by 60 and I get her coverage through 70, that's a hell of a buffer, right? I don't need that 30-year option. I can just do everything up front. But if it's important to them, right? But that's where like listening matters because if it's important to them to be covered for as long as possible, or oh man, I've thought about term before, but I just, the idea of having to renew it and blah blah. Blah. Well, hey, listen, I mean, I totally get that, but if you could be covered and you could be guaranteed to be insurable for the rest of your life, would that kind of make some of that anguish go away and some of that worry. Awesome, because that's how our policies works, right? So, right, condition, objection, right, hesitancy, isolate it, fix it, move on, right? Because otherwise it starts to build, and then you're like, oh, I don't even know what I'm trying to overcome anymore, right? You just all of a sudden have somebody that wants to think about it. And so anytime you get the opportunity to um, isolate an objection and address it immediately, you should do that for sure. Um, Jen, did you have a question? You're unmuted.
Yes, I just wanted to say when I brought people into appointments when I was first starting and you're nodding, I always try to pay attention to when you're nodding and I do exactly what you're doing rather than just sitting stagnant as the other person on
Yeah.
the call. So
Yeah.
I'm
Social
mimicking what
social
you're
cues
doing.
matter.
Yeah,
Yep.
so if you have people you're training and they're sitting on the appointment with you, maybe tell them ahead of time, hey, if you see me doing this, and you see me doing this, like having two heads doing that at the same time is better than one. I think for the visual cue.
That's a great point too, because I've had people in the past where like I'm running the appointment. Yes, they came, but they're there, their camera's off, they're not, right? Or even worse, their camera's on and they're like talking to somebody over here and just not paying attention. And it's distracting, right? And apparently it's not as important to them as it should be, right? So just coach your people through that. Hey, listen, camera on, be engaged. I need you focused and taking notes because this is how you're going to learn the job. This is how you're going to learn how to talk to clients, right? And so great nugget, Jen, is like have that coaching ahead of time with the new recruit that they need to be on engaged, not laying down, taking a nap on their phone, right? With like they fall asleep and the phone falls on them kind of thing. Seen it, seen it. So but then from there, right? She told me she was open to it. That's how we got to the numbers. Even if somebody tells me, yeah, I'm not really open to it. Not today. Hey, listen, I love that. Don't worry about it. But would you be open to at least letting me use you as a training scenario so that Michelle can see what it looks like for somebody that's about your age and about your blah 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 blah. What are they going to say then? Oh yeah, sure, fine, totally fine. Yeah, cool. I'm getting in, right? I don't take no for an answer on that because that's not really even a objection. They're just trying to like throw it out there that they're not interested, right? But when you can show them something and you can teach them something, and then all of a sudden they go, oh well, like that's it. Because it happens all the time, right? But that's your in, right? Take the objection, boom, got it. Hey, listen, I get it. This isn't something that you're super interested in today, but would you at least be open to letting me show Michelle what it's going to look like for someone that would be like for you as a client? They're not going to say no. They showed up on the appointment to do training. So leverage that, right? Emily, so can you show us federal jobs, union workers, military? What do you mean?
Back to the financial independence number, like
Mhm.
in I know we've gone over this like 5 times.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. People that are going to have a pension.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, make sure. Okay. So when you're doing the mobile FNA and you know someone has a pension, right? Like me. So hold on, stand by. Let me go back to my boy Walt Disney. Okay. So we're gonna pretend that Walt is in the army, right? And Walt is retired. And so Walt, his normal income, right? Between him and his spouse, Walt's income, he's going to be getting roughly half of this back every month until he dies, right? Because that's Walt's pension. And so in that case, if we know Walt's getting an extra 3 grand back every month, well, we don't have to account for that 3 grand. It's 3 grand he doesn't have to pay himself out of his retirement money. And so the easiest way to do that is just reduce it down here. So, I mean, Walt, let's be honest, man. So this was your income, and now you're about to retire. You're getting a pension, right? So you've got a guaranteed 3 grand a month coming in no matter what. So, well, I'm actually going to take that off of your monthly income goal because if it's coming in no matter what, you don't need to make it, you don't need to make it up out of your savings. Am I right? So, well, you're actually a little bit different, right? So instead of 80%, you only need about 50% of your actual monthly income to get back to where you were to not change your lifestyle. And so, well, that's going to change your monthly pretty drastically, right? So for today's 5 grand, it's the future's eight. The inflation doesn't change, right? The inflation doesn't go away, but it's going to lower your financial independence number quite a bit, right? And so, while if we only need 1.4 and we've kind of got the same numbers as we had before, well, now you're all set, bud. Anybody ever showed you, Walt, that you're going to be able to retire on time and have plenty of extra money saved up and set aside? Has anyone ever showed you that before? No? That's okay. That's pretty normal, but I did it in about 5 minutes and I did it for you for free. How cool is that? Pretty awesome, right? So, I mean, Walt, here's a cool thing. I mean, if we know on average that you're going to have more, well, look, I mean, instead of retiring at 67, you might be able to retire at like 65. There you go. And well, I just gave you back a couple years of your life in about 5 minutes. Do you ever think you'd be able to retire early, let alone retire on time? Well, probably not, right? I mean, you told me before you thought you were going to work forever. And so but those again, those are things that you can show people. And again, like it's just a model, right? It's just a simulation, but those are the talking points that you can use with people to be able to tie them down, get that engagement, get that agreement moving, and get them to tell you how great you are, right? Because remember,
Um,
if you're telling, you're selling, right? But if I ask you and you tell me it's true, and that's why questions are so important. That's why all of those little silly, stupid questions during the blue page process, where I'm still kind of explaining the company, but I'm doing it with questions because then the client is engaged. They have to be engaged because I'm asking them a question. That's how you keep someone's brain mentally in tune to what's going on, right? Most people have attention span of like a toaster. So if you just start like flapping at the gums continuously for a long time, you're losing them, and it just starts to sound like Charlie Brown's teacher. You just get womp or womp or womp. But if you ask them a question, then it sort of like wakes them up, and they have to like, oh yes, what was that? Having a plan is better than not having a plan. Am I right? And they're like, yeah, of course, love plans. Me too. Awesome. But that's what it looks like, guys. That's what it looks like. Questions? I got 4.5 minutes, and I got to talk to Andy. But anything else you want me to hit real quick? Okay. Michelle, tomorrow, do you still want to go? Do you still want to give it a go? Okay. So tomorrow, Michelle, you and Jen can be client. Like Jen can be your client. And I will be the one that like set the appointment with Jen. And then that way I can sort of like demo the way I want people to be like introducing you and that sort of thing. Okay. And then tomorrow I will start though. I will kick it off. I will start. I will do a diagram and then transition into the close. That way you get the chance to see that. And then I will stop that recording and then that way I can post that one as a diagram only. And then I will restart the recording and we will go with your KT demonstration. So for tomorrow, guys, take notes, right? Because we're going to give Michelle some constructive feedback on the backside. And then Michelle, if you have questions before tomorrow, like hit me up and just we can walk through some of that because I want you to feel as prepared as possible. Okay, cool. All right, guys. If there's no other questions, I'm gonna jump over to my 10 o'clock. I'm around today though, and I will get this recording up and posted onto the YouTube. Is anybody getting like alerts or notifications when I put something new on there or not yet? No? Weird. Okay.
I have my notifications turned on, but I still don't get them. I have to go into the app.
Weird. Okay. I don't know. Because I can't force a notification. I tried, but apparently YouTube like frowns upon that. You can't do it. So the actual subscriber has to turn on the notification for when something new happens or gets posted. So all right, guys, I'm gonna get this up and then I'm around. Let me know if you need help today, but I've got some appointments this morning and then early afternoon, but I have some more time this evening. Tomorrow, drill for steel at 9. That I switched it. The client is we moved it, right? So tomorrow after Wolfpack, 9 o'clock, we'll jump right in. 9 o'clock. All right. Bye.